Good morning, and we'll call to order the meeting of the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada. Ms. Quigley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the Commission, your agenda is in order and ready for your approval.
Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Your second item is to receive the General Manager's report, and we do have a few things to share with you. Every quarter, we like to recognize our best and brightest operators from both our fixed route system and paratransit services as part of the RTC's ongoing driver recognition program. These professionals are very much the face of the RTC to more than 60 million annual riders, and we certainly appreciate everything they do to make us all look good. So we'll start with First Transit. First, we'd like to recognize two operators from First Transit, from our paratransit division. We have James Hopkins. He's been a paratransit operator since 2011. The RTC is recognizing him this quarter for his efforts in maintaining superior safety and attendance records. James always places the highest priority on customer service and always demonstrates this by his consistent efforts in caring for the well-being of our customers. James has proven to be dependable, reliable, and safety conscientious. The level of customer service that he provides has been noted by customers as well as his coworkers. Also from First Transit, we have Clifton Oymont, who is an experienced paratransit operator and has been an operator here in Las Vegas since 2009. Clifton has maintained a safe driving record and received multiple commendations for his service. He also is one of First Transit's mentor operators who spends time with newly hired operators through their probationary period and beyond to provide guidance, support, and encouragement to help them succeed. And we are grateful to have him as part of the team to help our paratransit customers. So congratulations, James and Clifton, if we could have you come down. Oh, yes.
All right, great, thank you. Did you want to say a few words?
Well, I just want to thank RTC and also First Transit for this award, but at First Transit, we have many drivers that deserve this award, so I'm just one of many.
I'd just like to say I'm very honored to get this award and thank First Transit and RTC. Thank you very much.
We do. From Veolia, we have Sal Navarro. Sal's been a driver for 13 years as well as a line instructor, has trained new operators and served as revenue instructor trainer for years. He's also been the main instructor for our transit system's more complex routes, such as the Deuce, the Strip and Downtown Express, Boulder Highway Express, and Henderson and Downtown Express. Additionally, Sal always shows a willingness to go the extra mile. In fact, years ago, he volunteered to learn the radio dispatcher position on his own time to cover open shifts with limited notice with our bus operations center. In fact, Sal always makes himself available to fill in whenever and wherever help is needed to ensure our customers continue to receive transit service. As a million-mile operator, Sal's dedication and teamwork as a coach operator, instructor, and radio dispatcher has been a true asset to Veolia and to our customers in the Valley. So Sal, if we could have you come down.
Thank y'all very much.
There you go. All right, thanks. Well, as you know, this weekend was the big transition for the RTC, wherein we moved from one operator to two operators. A lot of energy and effort went into planning and coordinating this. So when we also had the heat wave, the greatest heat wave that we've had since 2005 in the valley happening at the same time, we were, of course, a little nervous. But I have to pay special tribute to all the operators that we work with, that being our fixed route operators, now Veolia, Keolis, MV, and also our paratransit operator, fixed route, for First Transit, as well as our employees who volunteered their time to make sure we had a smooth transition and to also take care of our passengers during that heat wave. When you get to be about 108 degrees, buses start to break down. It's just the way it is. So we had our employees out delivering water. In fact, I think we gave out over 21,000 bottles of water to very, very appreciative passengers. We also had our operators who volunteered their time and their vehicles to supplement service where we had breakdowns. So the impact to our passengers, there was still an impact, but it was greatly reduced by the cooperativeness of the entire team. And so if I could, I'd just like to recognize all of the people that we have in the room today, especially those vendors who kicked in to help out for the sake of the constituents. So I know you guys are here, and I just want to thank you. We ended up having a very smooth transition. It occurred at midnight on Sunday. Our passengers do not know that there was a significant transition. Go ahead.
Councilwoman.
I just wanted to comment that I'd like to also commend everyone, the RTC staff, the companies, and all of the drivers who ensured the health, safety, and welfare of the public that rides our system. And that's what keeps them coming back riding our system, because we look out for them. And I'd like to commend you and all of the folks who were a
They
part of
were
the solution.
awesome. Very excellent cooperation. Okay, our next item is, we promised we'd come back to you with a Boulder City bypass update, which is actually I-11, first phase of I-11, and Dr. Fred O'Haney will brief you on that.
Mr. Chairman, what you see on the map are the two phases of Interstate 11. Phase 1 is shown in green. That is the section between Railroad Pass and US 95, which is under the purview of NDOT. It's a 3-mile section. Phase 2, which is under the purview of RTC, goes from US 95 to the Hoover Dam Bypass Bridge, and it's 12 miles. This I-11 project has been identified as one of the key regional projects to be funded in part by Assembly Bill 413. To date, the RTC has completed our supplemental environmental documentation and received approval from the Federal Highway Administration. We actually received approval in March of this year. We've also completed all our financial feasibility studies as well as our preliminary design. We've also completed legal descriptions for right-of-way acquisitions from the 3 governmental entities along the corridor, namely the Western Power Administration, the National Park Service, and Boulder City, which actually owns 85% of the alignment, right-of-way in this alignment. So what are the next steps? In anticipation of the county passing an ordinance pursuant to AB 413, we will begin the process of preparing requests for proposals for a design-build project delivery method, and may include an option to maintain. At this point, we are not planning to toll the facility. We expect to issue the RFQ documents later this fall and anticipate having a design-build contractor on board to begin construction of the facility, assuming the funds are available by the fall of next year. We'll also be bringing to the board later, either in August or September of this year, the evaluation criteria for the RFQ for the board's approval. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mayor Tobler.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the RTC. Fred came out to Boulder City and gave the presentation, and Mike Hand was also out there before, and they did a great job explaining, kind of giving us an update on where the project is. And I think the important thing is that we it's continued to be recognized as a regional project. Just to, when we had a lot of the backups before at the intersection, before the widening of 93, everybody saw pictures of those, and the widening helped out a lot. But I want to remind, right now at Railroad Pass, we're seeing a lot of backups. And so it continues to be a problem, and our intersection definitely can't handle that type of traffic going through it right now. So to get all the trade and the tourism to continue into Las Vegas, this is a very much needed project, and I want to thank your staff. They do a great job, so thank you.
And I think the project's been well received regionally here in Southern Nevada. I think there's an understanding that as trade activities develop in the Gulf of Mexico, the movement of goods will eventually flow, hopefully, through Las Vegas as it goes Tucson, Phoenix, Las Vegas, and then off either north to the west. And recognizing that that traffic is going to be very important to us in our economic development and diversification. Any other questions?
Commissioner Giunchigliani.
Thank you. Is the Western Alliance still in play?
We have the Western Regional
Or
Alliance.
Regional
Yeah.
Alliance?
Mhm.
Okay, and so
And
that,
we work very closely with them, and this is always a topic of conversation.
okay, because I thought that they kind of initially embraced this as well, because
Yep.
we were looking at moving goods and services back and forth. Okay.
Yep, I attend their meetings, and this is always on the agenda. And it's interesting to note, Senator Horsford has created an I-11 caucus in Washington DC as well.
Dr. Fred, would you just put that timeline briefly again on the record?
Sure. We expect to issue RFQ documents the fall of this year and anticipate having a design-build contractor on board by the fall of 2014. Construction time period, right now we estimate to be about 3 years.
Very good. And Rudy, not to put you on the spot, but do we have an updated timeline on Phase 1?
In concert with the Phase 2 project and the distribution of funding for NDOT and also from AB 413 fuel tax indexing in Clark County, subject to approval of the Clark County Commission, we're looking at tying our schedules together so that we complete on the same kind of time frame. So our project, and we also are having discussions with the RTC on what elements NDOT will maintain in the future, what elements of NDOT's Phase 1 project would better be incorporated in the design build, and maybe swap funding over to the RTC for that effort inclusion.
Okay?
Great, we're talking to each other, but don't let that conversation slow anything up. Speak quickly. The timelines have
That
now
I
been
can
put
do.
on the record. They're on the record.
Yeah, on the record, duly noted.
Okay.
And we can come
Thank
back
you.
to you quarterly.
Councilman Ross.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Haney, you said that it's going to be a design build, not a CMAR?
Yes, design build. The type of project and the complexity of the project doesn't lend itself to CMAR. A design build would be a better approach in this case than a CMAR.
I bring that up just because it concerns me about using out-of-state contractors, as the size of this is significant, and I think that, these are local tax dollars, need to stay here locally. And I just want to voice my concern now, local companies, local workers, and I know we're bound by NRS in regards to that, but be mindful of that as we go down this path.
Correct.
And I'd ask the NDOT the same thing in regards to that, trying to keep Nevada money in Nevada.
Yeah. We have, just to clarify, we have some federal funds. So federal funds normally will preclude us from local preference, but when we bring the evaluation criteria to you either in August, we've added something that will allow local knowledge and experience to be an evaluation factor.
Well, with the chairman's permission, I bring that up because I know the CMAR approach gives us a little more flexibility in regards of who we choose to do what. But I didn't think about the federal aspect of that, so I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Quigley.
Okay, well, that concludes your general manager's report. Before we move on to item number 3, I do want to ask, well, we will need to delete item number 34 from the agenda, and that was at the request of NDOT. That was our last item for non-consent. Do we have to do anything? Okay. So,
Do we need a motion
I don't
on
know.
the
Do we
deletion
need
of
a motion?
34?
No, I think we can just remove it for now.
Okay.
You'll see it again.
okay. So So moving on then, we will go to the Nevada Department of Transportation Director's Report.
Thank you, Tina. And we'll definitely bring item 34 back next month. What we wanted to do is put together some more information to talk about the equity issue in Southern Nevada, which has been a great concern lately. To report on the federal level, we have a new U.S. DOT Secretary of Transportation, Anthony Fox, was sworn in recently. And as I mentioned previously, he was a former mayor, also involved in the transit industry. So I think that he's going to bring a different perspective of a transit focus in transportation. He did commit to continuing the primary focus on safety, which leads into the next item. I chaired the AASHTO Subcommittee on Highway Traffic Safety recently in Portland, Maine. We met with the Traffic Engineering Group, it's a subcommittee, and had a lot of good conversation about how we as state DOTs can interact closely with not only the RTCs, but also counties and cities and towns throughout our individual states to drive down fatality statistics on our roads and highways. There's a lot of things that we do collaboratively, and we can do more. I was pleased to hear about the Southern Nevada Traffic Safety Coalition recently and their efforts in working with the judicial branch and also local police, and not just the engineering side of the house, but also look at other solutions, especially the behavioral side, and trying to get people to not drive impaired or distracted, and to use seat belts. Currently, as of last week, we're about 5 fatalities lower than a year ago at this time. We've seen some high-profile accidents recently, but it's a good trend to try to keep going in the right direction as far as lower fatalities. We also have been working very hard on our Zero Fatalities program, and see that in getting the money into buying media that people actually see during prime time is worthwhile. It brings that message home, makes it more personal, and also makes it more recognizable as a message about zero fatalities. On Project Neon, we have scheduled some meetings for July and August with individual IFC members of the legislature, so that we can brief them about an overview of the project, why it's important to Southern Nevada, and one of the things that we have to go to Interim Finance Committee for is approval of a bonding scenario for this in support of Project Neon. And that is because in our biennial budget that they approved didn't have bonding as an element of financing for this project. So we will definitely brief them so that they know all the ins and outs of the project and can support that in a formal IFC vote. Another thing to mention is that we expect, after the industry meeting with some of these teams that are forming for Project Neon, it's going to be a design-build project with finance, operate, and maintain. In addition to that, July 25th, that industry meeting. Subsequent to that, they'll have a lot of one-on-one meetings. So teams don't like to they want to play their strategies close to the vest. So that's when they have one-on-one meetings under confidentiality agreements, so that their ideas are not disclosed to competitors. One of the things that we'll be implementing based on recent action by the legislature is DBE goals on state-funded projects. So a lot of more opportunity for minority and women-owned firms on state-funded projects. The state-funded projects are what's included in our annual work program, and that's what's going to be presented to the RTC next month. So primarily maintenance type of contracts, but there are also safety type projects that are smaller in nature and not federally funded. Recently, we saw that Nevada was ranked 16th on the Reason Foundation Annual Highway Report. They look at more than just pavement condition. They look at traffic congestion, unsafe narrow lanes, traffic fatalities, total spending per mile, and administrative costs per mile for what the state controls on their system. So we stayed about even with what we were a year ago on that Reason Foundation report, but as I said, it does take into account a lot of other factors. You might have seen in the media that NDOT and Nevada was ranked one of the top 2 states in bridge condition and bridges. This takes into account a lot more than bridges, but I just wanted to make note of that, that we're doing fairly well, at least in holding our ground although we're very limited in our funding. And that concludes we've covered Boulder City Bypass. We are continuing with the current contracts and with utility relocation. Definitely want to come back and brief the board on our Phase 1 project and Project Neon as well, to have a more complete presentation to this board. So probably next month would be a good time to do those presentations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Comments or questions? Rudy, when you say 16th on that highway report, is that 16th best or 16th worst?
16th out of 50, so
So it's a good
in
ranking.
the upper
all right.
third.
And then the interim finance committee,
Sure.
did they set a date for that meeting?
They have, they week about, every 2 months, IFC will meet, and they have certain deadlines. We're looking at probably doing the briefings between this late summer, early fall to the individual members. We won't know an exact amount of the bonding until we get more into the details of Project Neon financing. And so it'll be in 2014 when we formally go to IFC to request the bonding authority.
Is there anything the RTC can do in the interim, for the interim finance committee?
Not so far. I think that we want to see what individual members' feelings are about that before we would request any assistance, but definitely showing of support after we give the presentation next month. They definitely feel that, I mean, the members down here know day in, day out what traffic is like on I-15. And once we engage with them and explain inclusion of that one phase that's going to help the backup on the Spaghetti Bowl interchange for people going to the Strip in the morning to work, I think that they'll definitely support the project. It's just getting that financing strategy of a combination of bonding and private financing supported by the IFC members.
And is that financing strategy on a parallel track with the actual project management, construction, all that?
Exactly. So what we're looking at is a combination of financing with bonding for the early costs of acquisition of right-of-way, and then the private financing covers most of the construction costs. But we would have what we call a balloon payment of $200 million, so it offsets some of those long-range payback and reduces the cost, increases the affordability of the project.
Well, again,
So-
I offer the RTC's support, both staff and the board, to help especially our northern members, to educate, make them aware of the urgency. And if we have to pay their flights down to expedite the meetings, I'm sure the city of Las Vegas would do that for us. But thank you, Rudy, and just understand that we're here to give you every type of support that you need.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, or members of the board. Our next item is to conduct our first comment period for citizens' participation.
This is the period set aside for public comments on a posted agenda item. Anyone wishing to speak to the board on a specific item, now is the opportunity. Seeing and hearing no one, we'll close this portion of public comment.
Thank you. Item number 5 is to elect a chair and vice chair.
Entertain motions from the floor.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to have you continue as our chair and have Councilwoman Deborah March as the vice chair.
Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Woo-hoo. Okay.
Thank you,
Next
Your
is your consent agenda, which is items 6 through 33, and may be taken in one motion.
A motion on the floor on the consent. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Couple ayes from the left. Motion carries.
And since we have deleted item number 34, our next item, our last item, is again citizens' participation.
This is our second opportunity for public comment. Those wishing to speak to the board on general issues, now is the opportunity. I have some cards coming down. Sam, you're number 1 today.
Hey, number 1 in your hearts.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Sam Santori. I'm Vice President of ATU Local 1637. There's a few issues which I want to raise. Ms. Quigley was talking about how RTC was going out giving water and everybody to all the buses that were broke down to all the passengers, which was great. But after talking to a few of our operators, they were ignored. They weren't given any water. RTC got back in their vehicles and left. And that's the truth. I'm not making stuff up. Also, you talk about how you appreciate the drivers, yet there's still not much travel time and no recovery time on a lot of these routes. On the Sahara Express, they've added 3 minutes total travel time onto the route, which is nice on paper. But they didn't take into consideration that now people have to pay the fare, and you're losing those 3 minutes, and that route's never going to be on time once again. That's the way it's going to be. You also took a layover, which drivers really enjoy our layover when we get a few minutes break. The one at Civic Center in Cheyenne, which was next to a Subway, Panda Express, a donut shop, restrooms for the drivers, and you changed it. Now you want the driver to lay over in a parking lot at the college. In the parking lot at the college, it's very isolated. We have female drivers who could be assaulted there. Also, they have to leave the bus to walk into the college to use a restroom. I just don't think that's right. You had a perfect thing, and you took something that was good, which has happened in the past, and decided to fix it, and now it's messed up once again. You're going to notice in the next few months your revenue is going to go up, and that's because you're going to start collecting fares on Boulder Highway, which is great, which should have been done in the first place. So what you end up doing is you mess something up, you fix it 3 months later or down the road, and that's it. Now, I've talked to the person who does scheduling last year, and he assured me they were going to take care of these problems, but I had to wait till July. Now I see the book, and the problem's not taken care of. And I have issue with that. As far as drivers getting a break, a bathroom break, just to let you all, last year one of our vice president asked you to, she gave you a put-out challenge for you to ride the bus with her, and a lot of you took her up on that. Well, I'm going to issue a challenge to all of you too. The next time you need to use a restroom, I want you to just hold it as long as you can. And hold it for about an hour and see how your work acts. You won't be able to work your computer because you're squirming in your seat. Then after an hour, hold it for another 30 minutes and try it. And then when you can't hold it any longer, then I want you to get up from your desk and go use the restroom across the street at Premium Outlet Center and be back to your desk in 7 minutes. $100 bill says you won't be able to do it. It's been proven that people, when you have to use the restroom, you're distracted. And federal studies have shown it's like 0.0 or 0.04 if you were drinking alcohol, same sort of distraction. Well, for a CDL holder, that would be over the legal limit. So just to make you all aware of that, try what we go through just once at your desk. Anybody out here? And like I said, you can't do it. And just give us the same respect that you do to yourselves. It's just, we're human beings. We're not machines. We're not animals. An animal you would take out if it had to go to the restroom. You'd always let it out. You always give it water and food.
Right,
But
thank
as
you,
your
Mr.
drivers, you don't.
Thank you, Mr. Santoria. Ms. Anderson.
Well, good morning, I'm Patricia Anderson. One thing I want to bring up on the Sahara Express, which we know everybody supposed to go in the front door now. The drivers there are doing a fantastic job. They need more recovery because people are giving them a hard time. I'm not getting involved. I'm trying to observe, but I talk to the drivers with having concern. A lot of people have come to me, I don't want to pay, I don't want to pay. I said, but you have to pay. So this is not, we shouldn't have had it from the first place, but the drivers have been doing a good job and stuff like that. Now, as far as recovery time, the drivers on Sahara Express need more time. If they want to get out and stretch their legs, what have you, they should be able to do it. And it's not because right now the transition period, and people are still getting the back door. They're arguing and carrying on with the drivers and carrying on, and it's not fair. Like I said again, like Maine and Sahara Express, Charleston buses, all the different ones. The buses, they did a fantastic job this week. The buses, they were breaking down, but I was talking to them. I said, it's not the driver's fault. It's the buses. I mean, the double-decker buses, they're from England. So they are not equipped to run in this hot heat. So quite naturally, they break down. So anyway, I was on the new buses yesterday. The new bus is great. It looks nice and everything. I hope they keep it nice and clean. Everybody have a nice weekend, and thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to the board? We can bring, if she wants to sit down, we can bring the handheld mic over there.
Since I didn't get seated.
Ma'am, would it be easier for you to sit down? We can bring the mic to you.
No, I'm up. I didn't get a chance to sit. Once I sit, it's harder to get back up. I'm sorry I'm late,
Very
but
good.
the buses and the inclement weather and all of this. I had some questions. Number one, I'm
And
from
could you
Chicago.
introduce yourself for the record?
My name?
Yeah.
Arlene Shively.
Thank you.
And I'm from Chicago. And I'm like an alien out here in Nevada because I don't operate the way the rest of the world operates. And seemingly, I'm in a lot of trouble. And I only need to find out sources to go to alleviate my problem. I don't want anybody to solve it. I just need to know sources. I think that when a person has an opinion, they have a right to express it without any, quote, recriminations. When I first came out and started riding the paratransit service, I was told that it was horrible. I decided that I was going to deal with the horribleness of it. I got in trouble, and so I made a very, very bad person of myself because I am very opinionated. And I called the newspaper, and the newspaper became aware of the problem that I had with the paratransit, and they got on it. So of course there was a change instituted through the Regional Transportation, quote, Commission. That's not what I want to call it at the moment. But anyway, I'm in another problem, and I have just about had enough. Whatever enough means. I am 86 years old, and I think that the Emancipation Proclamation was 150 years. So I have, quote, gone through quite a bit, and I'm to the point where I am tired in Nevada. Now, I know that there are rules, and I know there are regulations, and I know that no one is a diva except maybe the board and the commission, but the riders and the drivers, we're at the whim of somebody else. We have rules and regulations to obey, and I have tried to obey them. And I really feel that personality conflicts have to come to an end. I had written the Regional Transportation Commission on several occasions. When I found a personality problem with Mr. Rodriguez, it was not solved. I didn't realize the relationship between he and Mr. Keaton was so strong. Now, the main reason I'm here is because it's a psychological thing. I can't sleep at night. And I don't think that any rule or regulation that permits a person from sleeping should be, quote, controlled by, quote, the whim of just another peon like me. So therefore, I just need to know where to go to get some help. I'm trying to seek legal sources. I was told by Reed's office to come to the board. I was told by CG's assistant that the board could do nothing. And I just go along and, quote, I pretty much do as I please, because I figure with only 14 years to 100, there's not very much you can do to me. I feel like Mr. Keaton might want to put me through a tree and lynch me, and I have very bad feelings toward him. But I just want to know where to go to get my picture taken out of the, quote, the bus barns. I don't feel that there's anything I have done to anybody except Mr. Rodriguez that should permit my picture to be hung and for drivers to be, quote, whatever. I went to the police, I told the police that my picture was hung there and that I was supposed to be arrested if I got on a public bus. I pay taxes. I haven't done anything to anybody except Mr. Rodriguez. So the policeman said, well, get on the bus and see what happens. And one of the policemen gave, but I'm tired now. I'm getting, it's been over a year. I tolerated it in the beginning because it happened when my son was very ill. And I did not want to cause my son's heart to get worse. The incident with the RTC, he had his own problems. But anyway, he died. And so I've been going through quite a bit through that. And I don't need Mr. Keaton and the RTC and threats of when I pay taxes of things that I am entitled to do just because he does not like me. So I just need to know where to go. Now, if
Okay,
you have an
that's-
attorney's
that's-
name,
That's fair enough.
give me that.
We've given you 6 minutes now,
Oh,
so
well, I didn't talk last week.
there you go.
So
You
I
got the
thank you. I was gonna put on there, last time I was here, I got so sick after listening to the meeting, and I kept saying, what am I listening to? But I came for help.
All right.
And all I want
Okay.
is some help. That's all. I don't want to do anything except,
We took your 3 minutes from last month and put it in
there
this
you
month.
go. That's what
So
I was
if-
gonna ask for.
If you
Thank
could wait right after the meeting, because
Okay.
we need to get very specific on what you're requesting.
Thank you.
But if you could just sit in the front row,
Okay.
and after the meeting is over, we'll come and get specifically what you're requesing, and we'll follow through on that.
I love you
Great. Thank you.
very much at this precise moment.
And I'm sorry,
Remember, it's only at this moment, people.
and I'm very sorry that our meeting last month gave you a headache.
Yeah, well, no, I think the whole body gave me a headache because I don't know how to act in here, and I don't want to get too atrocious.
You're fine. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to the board?
Good morning, Commissioners, RTC staff, Jose Mendoza Jr., President for ATU Local 1637. Just to give you an update right now as where we're at with negotiations, is still negotiated with both companies. Again, a lot of our bargaining unit employees are very disappointed with what you guys did to us. A lot of them had to either cash out the 401K, now waiting on whether they're going to roll it over, depending on what we negotiate. On top of that, RTC is a public entity, and RTC has no right to instruct the contractors to go do accommodations to some tourists that are here in town. I've already addressed it to Ms. Belinsky. I haven't received a response. And we're asking the RTC to just keep providing the transit for public riders, not for the tourists around here in Las Vegas. We do have a congressman that feels the same as we do, that RTC should be running the system, not being subcontracted. As for the two contractors, if one of the contractors comes and asks for more money, we ask you to really consider that. Because we told you guys a long time ago about the meals and breaks issue. And I'm sure they were not aware of it, but it was in the contract. So we want parity for all of the bargaining unit. And we have been addressing this for so many months, but you guys ignored us. And we don't want no work stoppage, we don't want any of that. We just want parity for both companies and for the employees that we represent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board? Seeing and hearing no one, this meeting is adjourned.